Hello and welcome to yet another Podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. If you're watching this on video, this is not a podcast. This is a video where I talk about podcasting. If you want the podcast, go to podcastpontifications.com. There's like 81 of these out there now. Wow. Podcasting has gatekeepers. Surprise. In fact, you probably do find that a little bit surprising, especially if you've been in this industry in a long time. Podcasting has gatekeepers. Gatekeepers, for the uninitiated, are people, typically companies and organizations, who you have to go through in order to get that thing which you desire. Literally, keeping the gate. If you don't do it, you don't get through the gate. Now, my prior life before podcasting was many different things, but one was a dabble here and there and in publishing. And publishing, meaning books, meaning magazines, meaning newsprint, certainly has gatekeepers. You can't, up until recently, in the real life, it was very difficult to get a book published. In fact, you couldn't get a book published unless you convinced a book publisher to publish your book, and then it would go out there. But then in the late aughts, Amazon changed the game when they released the Kindle store, and then suddenly anybody could self-publish, and so the gatekeepers kind of sort of went away. Although still, if you want to get a book in print in a bookstore, the gatekeepers are very much there. Same thing. You got a great idea for a TV show and you want to put it out? Great. You got to convince someone to air it. You got to convince someone to actually shoot it, give you a spot, put it on a network. Best of luck. So podcasting has gatekeepers. Sure. It's easy. Anybody can start a podcast. Read all the news. All you need is a microphone. Well, that's true, but you need to be able to do all the stuff that's necessary to get your show out there. And all you have to do is get a podcast host, right? Well, guess who the podcasting gatekeepers are? That's right. The podcast hosting companies. Now, they didn't intend to be gatekeepers. They think of themselves more as onboarders. And I love them to death. Do not get me wrong. If it wasn't for the companies out there that are hosting media files and creating RSS feeds and all the other necessary things to make this technology work in the background, there wouldn't be 600,000 podcasts out there. So I'm not casting shade at the podcast hosting companies who are gatekeepers. But what I am saying is, even though they didn't intend to become gatekeepers, they are de facto gatekeepers. Here we are, almost 15 years later, and podcasting's growth, well, I shouldn't say it that way. I don't want to put too much shade out there about that one. But what has happened is they have become gatekeepers to letting an individual podcast grow, change, and do various things. And let me explain a little bit more about what I mean by that. And I also want to make this future-looking, because this isn't something that was planned. Like many things, this is something that developed over time, and I think we need to think about what happened and what it looks like for the next 15 years. That's always a fun thing. So the reason podcast hosting companies have become gatekeepers is because of something I'll call entanglement. It is a matter of entanglement that is really the challenge here. Because while podcast hosting companies are awesome and great at the things that they do, we become reliant upon them. We podcasters become reliant upon them to get things modified and changed. And we are entangled with them. And I'll give you the best example of entanglement I can think of right now. Just recently, Spotify, the number 2 podcasting platform, commanding now over 8% of all downloads, which is a small number compared to Apple, but again, number 2, Spotify has recently announced they have additional advanced statistics they will now provide to podcasters. All you have to do, log in to Spotify and check out your dashboard if you're a podcaster. However, here's the problem. If you were one of the 25% of all podcasters, some number like that, so if you were one of, let's say, 200,000 people, let's say 100,000 to be safe, if you're one of 100,000 podcasts who went through your media hosting company to get listed on Spotify, you don't have access to those advanced stats, because Spotify hasn't made those advanced stats available to your podcast hosting company yet. So the option you might think, that I thought, was that you could just contact Spotify and say, hey, break that connection. Now that you just suck in RSS feeds regular, just do that for me. Nope. Not an option. If you already have a show listed on Spotify through an aggregator/media hosting company, you do not have access to this stuff. And you won't get it until first, Spotify releases the stats to the hosting provider, probably through an API. And then second, so your hosting provider, who's busy doing things that hosting providers need to do, then find a way to take that data in and present it to you in a meaningful way, especially in something like demographics that actually are very, very different from the way they measure things currently. You're entangled with the gatekeeper, and there is no way, and I tried yesterday, I'm going to try again today, a few other ideas, there's no way to unconnect that. That's entanglement with a gatekeeper. Unintentional, but de facto nonetheless. Let's say, for example, speaking of Spotify, that you have recognized that Spotify, when it displays your episode details, I hate to say show notes, but that's what they are, episode details, they don't respect line breaks, they don't have bullets, they can't deal with bullet points, and they can't deal with links. It's just a dump of text out there. You need to fix that. I'd love to give Spotify just simply a single paragraph that would be good for it to display, but I can't. There is no option to send a different bit of text for your descriptions of your show over to Spotify. In hosting companies, they haven't enabled that ability. When will they do that? I don't know. Will they ever do that? I don't know. It's up to them. They're the gatekeeper of that, and I'm entangled with them. Other ideas. I wrote these down, but they're so small that I can't see them. Amazon Alexa. Want to get your show on Amazon Alexa? Great. Most hosting companies now are saying sure, and have been for a while. Just let us know. We'll let you know when, and then we'll automatically get it all set up, and you can submit your show to Alexa. Yeah, not anymore. Those are all on hiatus because that's a very manual process that you have to do to get a show onto Alexa from the podcast hosting company. We are beholden to them when they will enable that to happen. Want to change something on your Alexas? Good luck. If you already are there, good luck. They have to do it because they have entangled. And again, this is not intentional. They're not intentionally holding this back, but they are still acting as a gatekeeper when they didn't realize that. Let's see, what else do I have written down here? Oh, what about, let's say that you're very smart and you can connect your show to an email distribution list and you want to email out to people. Well, there are certain requirements that mail companies like MailChimp are looking for out of your RSS feed, but they're not. I don't have the option with my hosting company to create a feed just for mail, just to go out to mail, so that I can update my people who wish to subscribe to this show, and I get people who subscribe to this show on email. I'm stuck. And I can't do anything about it because everything's tied in through my hosting provider. I'm stuck. I really can't do anything about that. Maybe I've got to notice something that I've been making a big push on one particular application I want to install. I want to see what download stats look like. I can't see it because that's not the way the hosting company reports the data and information. And I don't have any access to the raw data, which I probably shouldn't have access to the raw data. Podcast hosting companies are today's gatekeepers. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's just a thing. It's just a reality. But what it makes me think about is, what does it look like in the future? Because this year, we had Spotify. Next year, Pandora. Last year, Amazon. There's going to be more of these that are coming up. And hosting companies may not be perfectly set up to help make sure that we go smoothly. I know they want to. It's just hard. It's hard to do it. So remember, you've got a gatekeeper, and you're entangled with them. Make the right kind of decisions and plan for the future. We are entangled with our gatekeepers. One of the many things you've got to think about when you think about the strategy of podcasting, if you're a business podcaster particularly, and I'd like to help you figure that out because I launch podcasts for businesses, for professional service providers, and keep them running smoothly and avoid many of these hassles or offload as many of those as I possibly can. Check it out at evo@podcastlaunch.pro. Reaches me. Go to podcastlaunch.pro to see the list of services that I provide, and I shall be back soon with yet another podcast pontifications. Cheers.